Johnson has a typical JJ start, gets him deep into this ball game, and then delivers it to a fairly well-rested bullpen. I think Kiko Calero's probably the only guy that's off limits tonight. Counsell, Hardy, Braun, here we go. Josh Johnson throws what looked like a strike, but is down low. Damian Beal is calling balls and strikes. Mike DeMuro, Dale Scott, and Jerry Meals around the bases. That would be a strike. And so it's 1-1. Counsell is 0 for 3 in this series. A resurgence for him this year. His average over 300 after a struggle at the plate his last couple of seasons. And he spanks that one right on the line to Cantu.
Well struck, but well positioned by Jorge Cantu. How about the defense tonight for the Marlins? Brought to you by Heineken, Coghlan, Ross, Hermida in the outfield. Bonifacio and Hanley, Dan Uggla and Jorge Cantu. Not too many changes. John Baker handling JJ.
A fastball and a strike to JJ Hardy. Hardy is 26. He's out of Tucson, Arizona. And Johnson bounces that one up there. If you just heard Tim Wood talk about he and Hardy played against each other as kids growing up in Tucson. Good friends, and maybe they'll meet here on the diamond. That's a drive to left. Coghlan, it's hard sometimes to judge a fly ball with Chris because he's still learning his way out there as an outfielder. So he'll jab to his right and then start to his left and then...
Yeah, well, I was talking to him the other day about the adjustments and how things have been going, and he said, yeah, getting that first jump and identifying the ball. And he said one of the other ones that's given him trouble is when to dive or not to dive. When to kind of lay back on the ball and play it on the hop or maybe make that diving attempt.
JJ now faces Ryan Braun, who homered in last night's game, and a 97-mile-an-hour fastball whistles by him.
Tell you what, the Brewers didn't see that kind of velocity from Josh Johnson in Milwaukee.
No, and it was a start after a start at Coors Field, and as some theories go in pitching, if you're a visiting pitcher, your start after Coors Field, oftentimes you can feel the effect of pitching at altitude, and maybe there was something to that because Josh said he just didn't feel his self. Didn't have his velocity. The Marlins were certainly concerned after that start, but his bullpen the next time out was fine, and he was fine his next start after that. In fact, his last start, he was more than fine. He beat the Mets 7-3, 6-0 against the Mets now in his career. That is strike 3. Johnson strikes out Braun. And 1, 2, 3 go the Brewers. Rolling right to the bottom of the first. Coghlan, Bonifacio, and Hanley.
Liga Marlins Baseball está disponible en español vía Zap y es presentado por KFC.
Here's the Marlins lineup tonight against Dave Bush. Chris Coghlan will lead it off. Bonifacio was on base 3 times last night. Hanley's in the 3 spot. Cantu hits cleanup. Jeremy Hermida in right. Dan Uggla hit one to the turnpike right through the upper tunnel over Paul Warfield last night. John Baker, Cody Ross, and Josh Johnson.
Yeah, that ball Uggla hit had sun pass written all over it. There's Dave Bush, the 29-year-old right-hander. When you watch him pitch, and we'll go through his repertoire as he starts his first inning, but he has that little hesitation in his windup, so at times you can kind of get lulled to sleep with that at the plate, so you have to be careful.
So Coghlan now shortens the bunt, takes a fastball up, and it's 1-0. I was talking to Jim Presley about Coghlan right now, and he said one of the things that he's wrestling with is his role as the leadoff hitter, because he had never done it before in his life. He's always hit 3rd or 4th. And it's especially the first at bat of the game. It's a little foreign to him to come to the plate and take a couple pitches like that last fastball.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little something that I've seen over the last few weeks. He needs to start getting back into that 3rd and 4th hitter thinking to be a little more aggressive. He has gotten passive at the plate, taken good pitches to hit, and then swung at pitches that are not strikes or pitcher's pitches. Took a couple of good fastballs and then swung at that big curveball from Bush, which was not a good pitch to hit.
So a strikeout to open up the first. Here's the defense by the Brewers.
See how the Brewers set up. And again, brought to you by Heineken. Braun and Cameron and Corey Hart in that outfield. Paul Hardy, Counsell, and Fielder. And the catcher tonight is Mike Rivera. So Jason Kendall gets a breather this evening.
Here's Bonifacio.
So I think for Coghlan to kind of turn things around, just be a little more aggressive the next few times. If you're going to get that first pitch fastball, go ahead and swing.
Bonifacio chopped it and is thrown out by a step.
Because after you do that a few times, then you won't get that perfect first pitch fastball anymore.
And I think it's a good example, too, of what Bonifacio went through his first 5-6 weeks on the job as the leadoff hitter, too. For a young guy, this is Bonifacio's first full season in the big leagues. It's Coghlan's first 3 weeks in the big leagues. That's a lot to wrestle with all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
You know, here, you're the leadoff guy for a team that's got powerful bats like Ramirez and Cantu and Uggla and Ross. And it's a role that even seasoned veterans struggle with or sometimes take years to master. Ouch! Right off of Bush. Counsell's throw, not in time. Hanley beats it out. Wow. Let's hope he's okay.
Boy, this ball was absolutely crushed by Hanley Ramirez. Dave Bush turns. I'm not sure if it caught his arm or his back. Either way, it's going to absolutely sting. And you can't tell if it caught part of the elbow or if it caught him on the back. You can see the reaction from the Marlins dugout, and certainly the concern.
Oh, they're looking at the
elbow.
Brewers.
They're looking at the elbow. So it didn't catch the back. It caught that elbow.
Oof.
Wow.
And we've talked about it the entire series. Ken Maka, the skipper of the Brewers, is in a position much like Freddie was in when the Marlins were in Milwaukee. He has a bullpen that has been chewed up and used a lot because starters haven't gone deep. And so this would be an absolute disaster for the Brewers if Bush were unable to continue.
Look at that. You can see the black and blue already showing. He's probably lost feeling in it already. He's going to try to make a few pitches and
look at the welt.
You see how it goes. Yeah, you can see the welt coming up already. He's a veteran guy, 2-2 in his career against the Marlins. In that game, he beat Josh Johnson. He went 7 innings and gave up 6 hits and 3 runs.
But that's hard enough for a position player to continue in a game when you get hit like that, let alone a pitcher. Because the ball comes off the bat faster than it comes to the plate on a hit like that. So he's getting hit by a 100-mile-an-hour plus line drive.
And the mound is 60 feet 6 inches away. But when he finishes his pitch, his delivery, he's closer than that. You know, the concern is that, yeah, there's going to be some tenderness in that elbow, certainly. The concern for the Brewers is they don't want him to alter anything in his delivery.
To compensate for the pain.
Yeah.
Watch his reaction. Oh. And the bullpen down there, everybody was just getting settled in. Now everyone's on alert. Obviously, if it's an injury, you would get as long as you need to warm up. But still, some guys are probably thinking to themselves, I might be next. Cantu goes after the first pitch and pops it out into right field. Hart is there and makes the catch. And the Marlins are done. A painful single for Hanley. That's all the Fish have to show in the first. Go to the second. Scoreless. Prince Fielder trying to check his swing on a fastball that was up and in, and he could not. It's 0-1. So Fielder goes to work with Mike Cameron and Corey Hart right behind him against Josh Johnson here in the second. JJ gets another strike. 0-2.
Rich, one of the things that Josh Johnson has done so well is be consistent. He was 2-0 with a 2.60 ERA in April. 2-1 with a 2.72 ERA in May.
And if you want to piece together the season that he's had so far, this is his team-leading 12th start, and he's 4-1. You could easily have a few more wins along the way. On a hop, Johnson flips it over, and then stretch it back to last year. 7-1 last year in his 14 starts. So he's 11-2 going back to last year. Fish Friday tomorrow, the Marlins and the Giants. The Giants right now are 3 outs away from handing win number 300 to Randy Johnson up in Washington. Tomorrow, authentic Dan Uggla autographed bat could be yours. They'll give away 100 of those as the Marlins play the Giants tomorrow night on a Fish Friday at 7:10. It's 4-1 Giants over the Nationals in the top of the 9th inning. The Nationals were down a run, had the bases loaded with Adam Dunn at the plate, and the Giants had their closer in the 8th, Brian Wilson, and he threw a fastball that looked low that would have tied the game and would have lost the opportunity for win number 300. and Adam Dunn was rung up on it.
Well, and that's just the first of two. They have a doubleheader at Nationals Park tonight.
Mike Cameron, a couple hits in this series. Inside corner. Cameron barks about it, but Josh Johnson is precise and is picking his spots.
Boy, he's making some perfect pitches. He stays inside with a good fastball. Bate moves in with the target, and there was the pitch. I don't think Mike Cameron thought so. He's letting Damian Beal know that in a professional manner.
Damian Beal is letting everybody know where his strike zone is going to be here these first couple innings. So the second time around, everybody will have a pretty good idea of what's a strike and what's not. Corey Hart shoots one foul. Corey Hart is kind of a movable object in the Brewers lineup. Ken Maka's had him all over the place, leading off against lefties. Traditionally, he's usually further down in the lineup. He's an interesting combination. He's a tall guy and has a lot of speed. He's the fastest Brewer. Even when Ricky Weeks was on the roster, he was the fastest Brewer. Ross comes charging in, and Cody makes a fine running catch in a 1-2-3 second for Johnson. Let's see how Dave Bush is when he comes back out. At the ballpark, our weather is brought to you by Miccosukee Resort and Gaming. Come play our way. 84 degrees. That's the first time I've ever seen moon phase on our weather. Someone had a little too much time on their hand this afternoon. Kind of love the cotton candy.
Yeah, Dad just, grabbing a quick bite.
Here is Hermida. I've been told by the truck that explanation on the moon means that we'll actually be able to see it tonight.
That's good news.
Waxing. Is it the waxing gibbous? Is that how you pronounce it? Hermida pulls one foul. Jeremy with Dan Uggla and John Baker.
This will be an important inning to see how Dave Bush responds after taking that line drive just off above his elbow.
The fun thing was he only threw 7 pitches in that first inning. That's a strike.
I think early on, and you have to know this as a hitter now, early on, Damian Beal, the home plate umpire, has established a larger strike zone. Certainly a larger strike zone than Mike DeMuro in the first game of this series.
I like his strike zone.
So now you be alive as a hitter, a pitcher who has good control. Now he can try to exploit that. And it looks like Bush and JJ are trying to do that.
Well, it certainly helps when you've got guys that have the control of Bush and Johnson. There's a breaking ball, a strike to Dan Uggla. Uggla's had a nice series. The power stroke has come back. He leads the Fish with 11 home runs, second with his 39 RBIs. 2 homers, and the one he hit last night was a mammoth shot. A high fastball that he lassoed and sent through the tunnel in the upper deck down the left field line.
And he's 5 for 11 with a home run in his career against Dave Bush.
There's a curveball. All right, here it is.
Yeah, and we've talked about Dan Uggla. He takes care of that high fastball. Look at McClung, knew exactly where that one was headed. Might not have known it was going right through the tunnel. 7 home runs in his last 15 games. We've seen a little bit more patience from Dan this year in taking pitches. 31 walks. That puts him in the top 10 in the National League.
You know, we had a chance to watch that home run. Before they had instant replay, though, they had reenactments. And after Uggla hit his homer, Amezaga reenacted it for us.
That's still the best. And there's another walk, by the way.
Yeah, I think a couple weeks ago we started to track Uggla's walks, and he's slowly in his career trended upwards in that, as well as strikeouts for that matter. But it looks like this year he's on pace to get up in the 80s or 90s in walks, which would be terrific for him, especially if he can bring that batting average up. Here's Baker. Bake takes a strike.
I think Bake right now is a little bit into that mode that we talked about with Chris Coghlan. Because you look at Bake, he's 2 for 9 his last 2 games, but he struck out 4 times during that span.
And a handful of those are looking. We've seen Baker in his season and a half in the big leagues. Always been a patient hitter, good on base percentage. But on top of that, he's always been able to hit his pitch. I mean, when he gets the ball that he likes, he's usually been able to put a bat on it and hit it hard. That one is in the air, where fly balls go to die. Down in left center here, Mike Cameron does the honors. 2 outs, Fox Saturday Baseball. It's a rematch of the NLCS. Remember, the Dodgers and the Phillies. Phillies, of course, won that series and went on to win the World Series. Well, they meet again on Fox, 4 Eastern on Saturday. Now Cody Ross. Ross had last night off in a 9-6 Milwaukee win. Push misses down low, and it's 1-0. See, Billy the Marlin is scouting out the upper reaches just in case.
Yeah, Billy knows who's up. And Dan Uggla this inning, now Cody.
Ross fouls that one back, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. It's almost over up in D.C. 5-1 Giants over the Nationals going into the bottom of the 9th. Brian Wilson, the Giants closer, is coming out to start that 9th inning. If he can get those 3 outs, Randy Johnson will join the 300 win club. Cody pulls that one down the line. Uggla racing towards third. Braun in the corner, and a double for Ross.
Cody's one of those streaky hitters. We talk about that often, and when he's on a streak, look out. He's hit in 15 of his last 19 games now. over 350 during that span, and he supplied some long ball and extra base hits as well.
All right, here's an interesting situation. You got Josh Johnson now up, and JJ is not in terms of hitting pitchers, he's not horrible. He's no Livan Hernandez or Micah Owings or Dontrell Willis.
He seems to have a decent approach. He'll put the bat on the ball. I think he'll put this ball in play. He just hopes to find a hole and help himself.
Puts it in play, but it's out to Counsell, who throws to first in time. Marlins leave those 2 runners out there. They've left 3, and Bush has recovered from that line drive. Scoreless.
Like that. They got the floppy hat, got the regular baseball cap, got the jerseys. They got the good gear, and they're zoned in on something.
Scoreless ball game. Someone from Tommy's Gym is here. Here's Bill Hall with Mike Rivera and Mike Bush coming up in the 3rd against Josh Johnson. A pair of strikeouts for Johnson. Tomorrow night, of course, the Marlins open up the 4-game series with the Giants. The Giants are going to have to play 2. That first game is just about over, and Randy Johnson has just about won it. But there's another game scheduled. It's raining up in D.C., but obviously it's the last time the Giants are in D.C., so they may be waiting a while tonight. Which means by the time the Giants get here early in the morning.
And as we know, it takes from Nationals Park to get to the airport, have to leave out of Dulles. It's close to an hour to get there.
Yeah, no charter flights out of Reagan, which is, you can see from the ballpark. Bill Hall can see from home plate. That's a strike, and Damian Beal has been consistent with that pitch for both guys.
Well, you have to love the way Josh Johnson's working both sides of the plate to lefties and righties. He made perfect pitches to Prince Fielder in the 2nd inning, and he's made some great pitches. Cameron caught looking, Hall caught looking, and Braun was caught looking.
I mentioned the control of these 2 starters. Johnson, as Rivera stands in, is making his 12th start. He's walked just 18. Bush is making his 11th start. He's walked just 18. That one misses someplace, might have been up. Rivera, the backup catcher for the Brewers. It's a spot that probably won't see a whole lot of activity unless Jason Kendall gets injured. Kendall is one of those guys that is in there usually 6 days a week. Caught 149 games last year.
Yeah, Rivera has started 8 games behind the plate.
And at that pace, Kendall won't get to 149, which is where he was last year. Johnson misses outside with his fastball. So he loses Rivera. Now here comes Bush.
Now it's interesting in looking at Bush when he comes up to the plate. He has a wrap on that elbow. Probably something to help the swelling stay down. But he can't wear that when he goes out and pitches. He can't have that on that. He can't have that sleeve on his arm when he goes. He could have it underneath us if he had a long sleeve. He could have that underneath.
Or if the sleeve were blue. You're right. If he had blue sleeves over it, he'd be fine. Drops down the bunt. JJ gets the out. So the Brewers bring the top of their order up. Craig Counsell, who hit the hardest ball of the night against Johnson when he lined out back in the first.
Nicely done by the veteran Dave Bush. Good positioning of his bat. Drops it out there in a perfect spot. And JJ's only play to first base.
And it's over up in Washington. Randy Johnson has won his 300th game. The Giants beat the Nationals by a score of 5-1.
Well, congratulations to the big unit. We've seen him over the years pitch some fantastic games.
Which actually opens a question up as to who's going to pitch for the Giants against the Marlins on Monday. Because Johnson's scheduled start was yesterday, and he was going to throw against the Fish on Monday. And obviously, if he's moved up a day, you would expect at his age they wouldn't pitch him on short days rest.
It's that infamous TBA on Monday.
Well, the Marlins.
Good matchup tomorrow night.
Yep.
Chris Volstad and Barry Zito.
The Marlins are going to see quality arms because it may depend on if they get the second game started or not. But Zito is slotted, and then Jonathan Sanchez on Saturday. Tim Lincecum is going to go on Sunday night. Counsell fouls it back, and it's 1-2. Counsell now 38. Hit just 226 last year. That's outside. The funny thing about Craig Counsell, and this includes last year's postseason that the Brewers made as a wild card, he's been in 3 postseasons in his long career. And up until last year, every time he'd been in a postseason, he not only won the World Series, but played a big part in the winning rally of the World Series. To right field, Hermida is there and makes the catch. Going to the bottom of the third. When we get back, we'll take a look at Randy Johnson and win number 300. DC took the mound looking for win number 300. He got some great defense from his infield. And Johnson would give way. Now, this was the pitch with the bags loaded. That was called strike 3. That would have tied the game. With Brian Wilson on the mound, that would have wiped out any chance for the win. Instead, it was strike 3, end of inning. And Wilson would pitch the 9th as well. And Johnson becomes the 24th in history to join that 300-game plateau.
Well, Randy Johnson, a 5-time Cy Young Award winner. And just in case you were wondering, in his career against the Marlins, 13 starts, 8-1 with a 1.78 ERA. So 8 of those 300 against the Fish, and he has been spectacular.
Top of the order, Coghlan, Bonifacio, and Hanley. There's a strike. Coghlan, a strikeout victim back in the first. And Coghlan finds himself behind in the count 0-2.
By trying to be a little too patient, he's ending up swinging at the pitcher's pitch instead of his pitch.
Bush misses inside. And it's 1-2. Dave Bush out of Wake Forest. Was an All-American there in 2002. Blue Jays drafted him in the second round.
Notice he has the long sleeves on now.
Which means he's probably got that compress or whatever it is on underneath it.
Yeah.
Coghlan waits on one and punches it into left field.
Yeah, that time he got his pitch because Bush made a mistake with that curveball.
And so Bonifacio comes up. The Marlins had their leadoff man aboard and their third hit.
First time in this game now the Marlins have gotten the leadoff man on. So let's see what they're able to do with it, because you have the feeling, the way both of these guys are pitching, that this could be a low-scoring game. So you get that leadoff man on, you have to try a little something.
Bonifacio did one of his run-up and slash jobs back in the first inning. And he bounced it right to third baseman Bill Hall. Still Hall threw him out by just a step. Foul back to the screen. By the way, just in watching those highlights, and we watched the game up here in the booth out of the side of our vision, and Brian Wilson is the closer for the Giants. He came in the 8th inning and threw a lot of pitches, which means the Marlins might not see him tomorrow night. He might not be available for back-to-back nights, having been extended like that. And, of course, the Giants have another game to play later on tonight.
Wilson picking up his 13th save.
Yeah, he threw 33 pitches in that game. One ball, one strike on Emilio Bonifacio. The Marlins trying to take 3 of 4 from the first place Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers got their lead all to themselves again last night with a win and a St. Louis loss. So it's a 1-game lead for the Brewers in the Central. The Phillies just keep rolling along.
Boy, they've been on fire, haven't they?
They've won 6 in a row.
Good matchup out west tonight, though. The Phillies at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers have been playing great baseball. Hamels against Kershaw.
Hamels pitched that brilliant game last year in the National League Championship Series at Dodger Stadium. Coghlan's leaning and he's running, and Bonifacio went after a pitch.
That was a little hit and run, I think, and that's why he went after that pitch. I don't think Coghlan would be going in a straight steal. It could have been. Let's see if Coghlan takes a peek back toward the plate. Yeah, there's the look. He picked up the ball.
You know, I think the look came after contact.
Could have been.
That's a pretty good jump.
You can do it!
He's running again. And Bonifacio hits a looper out into left center field. And Braun is there to make the catch.
Yeah, remember, Coghlan had 9 stolen bases before he was called up.
Let's check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Well, much obliged there, Rich. I really do appreciate you giving me a chance to spend a few moments with the good people out there. Country Night's coming up here on Saturday night. Should be fun. The Mechanical Bull. I don't know if you and Tom are going to come out, or if we're going to get Frank on that Mechanical Bull line dancing. We've got Phil Vassar, country style, pregame party. Phil will be signing autographs at Strike Zone, Gate H. And also Jeffrey Donovan from Burn Notice will be out there as well. Marlins Vision features some country-oriented tales on the big board here. We'll also have hay bales. Should be a root-tootin' good time, gentlemen.
So
we'll see you there, partner.
So let me ask you, Craig.
Never heard a guy from Long Island talk like that.
Yeah, that's why it's not very good, I'll tell you.
As your model, were you channeling Bobby Bowden or something there?
I think it was Roy Rogers. What was his name? Roy Clark from Hee Haw.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that was the introduction to anybody up north. The only thing they ever saw country was Hee Haw. Remember the banjos and
if there had been a Bobby Bowden, there would have been a Dadgummit in there somewhere.
Dadgum, yeah. Dadgum, that special teams just didn't do the job there.
Hanley hits that one out in the left center. Cameron rolls on over and makes the catch.
And where is Coghlan going?
Coghlan's on his way to third.
Forgot how many outs there were.
Ouch. And he's doubled off. A rookie mistake. And the inning is over for the Fish. Scoreless and a little embarrassed is Coghlan. For this ball game here in the fourth, Josh Johnson, Dave Bush, and J.J. Hardy leads it off with Braun and Fielder due up as well. Damian Beal has been calling that a strike all night.
Both pitchers rich firing strikes. Each pitcher tonight has had just one 3-ball count. J.J. to Rivera, who eventually walked, and Bush to Uggla, who we walked.
The Marlins have 3 hits in the ball game. Little looper out into center field. Cody will have it drop in front of him. And Hardy has the first hit for the Brewers.
a broken bat, base hit.
So, the Duck was saying, our Aflac trivia question, Robin Yount holds numerous Brewer records, but not the career average. Who tops the list for the highest career average for the Milwaukee Brewer?
Well, the name that just jumps out right away is Paul Molitor. Because I know Molitor was a career 300 hitter. And a good part of that career with Milwaukee.
I know it's not Pat Listash.
By the way, on that ball hit to Cody Ross, the broken bat single by J.J. Hardy, that's one of those plays you saw Cody. We've seen him make many diving catches, but it's a tie game. There's nobody out. If you take a chance and you don't think you can get it and you dive and that ball gets by you, J.J. Hardy has an inside the park home run, or at least a triple. So you have to make that decision, which he did. After coming at it quickly, now you got to pull up and play it on one hop and keep it in front of you.
Johnson facing Braun. One of Johnson's former teammates had a rough day today. Dontrell Willis went 2 1/3 innings, walked 5, and got the loss.
Yeah, the Red Sox beat Dontrell and the Tigers 6-3, but just 53 pitches for the D train and 5 walks. There were a few rough outings in baseball today.
Mike Pelfrey in Pittsburgh.
Mike Pelfrey, the big right-hander with the Mets, 3 2/3 innings, gave up 9 hits and 9 runs. The Pirates swept the Mets in that series in Pittsburgh. They beat the Mets 11-6 today.
And by the way, Carlos Beltran was back in the lineup. In fact, he homered. Mark Wiley. Josh Johnson start tonight. That means Chris Volstad tomorrow. Slow tapper. Hanley's going to have to hurry. And he gets him. Nice play. Braun runs well.
Yeah, that is a very nice play because Hanley had to get to that ball quickly, field it cleanly, and then unload a perfect throw. He did all those things to get Braun. And that was his only play. He didn't have a play at second. There's the pick, there's the throw, and it just gets Braun. Good job by Hanley, and a nice grab over there by Jorge Cantu.
Now Fielder. Johnson comes inside, and it's 1-0. Prince Fielder. What an impact he's made in his short stay in Milwaukee. 34 homers last year, 50 in 2007. Rips it to right. Hermida comes on and missed the ball. And it gets by him, and it goes to the track, and that will cost a run. Hardy will score. Fielder gets in. The Marlins botched the relay as well.
Boy, oh boy, a misplay last inning, a double play running and forgetting the outs was Chris Coghlan. Misplays here. When you're in a close ball game and you have a pitcher who's pitching the way JJ is, you just can't do that. Ball was hit off the hands. It wasn't struck sharply by Fielder. But it looked like Jeremy Hermida was going to make the catch. All of a sudden it gets by him. Fielder has a sure double and should have been thrown out at third base had the relay throw been handled cleanly. And there was the bobble. Hanley had to play at third. Fielder was only about halfway to third when Hanley turned to fire.
It's a generous triple. Infield comes in, Cameron's up, and Johnson misses. And a strike. Mike Cameron was called out on strikes in the second. Infield in, 1 out. That was one of those plays where if Hermida actually gets a glove on it, he might get charged with an error. But since he completely missed it,
it didn't appear to be a sinking type line drive. It was waist high when Hermida reached out for it. Watch him reach. He's there. Either he lost it or he just misjudged it.
That's a strike. It was a strike in Cameron's first at bat. Remember, he argued that call, and it's a strike here.
Yeah, remember we had that shot of Cameron turning around and saying something to Damian Beal, and Josh Johnson goes right back in there, same spot, same call, same result.
So if JJ can limit the damage to just the 1 run, to do that he's got to get hard. Hart in the air, Hermida makes the catch. Inning over, but the Brewers get a run. They're on the board first. Is brought to you by Marooney. Hey, South Florida, when you need a car, truck, or van, who are you going to call? 1-877-Marooney. By Checkers Little Place. Big Taste. By Corona, the official sponsor of the timeout, and by Headquarters Toyota, where you'll feel like you bought from the factory. Conveniently located off the Palmetto and 57th Avenue. What a shot here as night falls in South Florida. All right, the Marlins are going to have to figure out a way to solve Dave Bush.
Well, they're going to also have to figure out a way to play some solid baseball. And in order to beat the Brewers and Dave Bush, they're going to have to do that.
Cantu takes a strike with Hermida and Uggla to follow. The Marlins have had a base runner in every inning at the very least. They had 2 in the second. Cantu scorches one. That's inside the line. That's a fair ball. Into the corner it goes. Braun after it, taking his time, and he'll pick it up. Cantu pulls in with a double.
Yeah, and it's our Checkers double supplied by Jorge Cantu. He is on fire. 7 hits in his last 14 at-bats. Checkers double of the game. Let's see what the Marlins can do with the leadoff double from Jorge Cantu.
All right, so good solid baseball-wise. The Marlins are looking to move, at the very least, Cantu to third base here. Hermida struck out back in the second.
That's what he has to be thinking right now. If he does anything, if he makes an out, it's got to be a ground ball to the right side.
One and 0. That's Cantu at second. And Bush leaves it outside. Mike Rivera behind the plate has the tape on his fingers. Some catchers will actually paint their fingernails white. Others will put tape on the fingers for night games, so the pitchers have a better look at the signs. There's a ground ball. Stumbling is Hardy, and he's not going to get Hermida. The Brewers had a shift for Hermida.
It worked out okay because he got the base hit. But he didn't really show that he was trying to pull the ball. But the shortstop, J.J. Hardy, was playing more up toward the middle. So this ball goes to Hardy's right. See, he's near up the middle. Cantu has to stay, and then a little stumble costs Hardy the chance to get it out. I don't know if he would have gotten it anyway.
It's a good heads up by Jorge Cantu to hold his ground, because once he stumbled, the only play he would have had would be to get Cantu if he were hung up between second and third. Now Uggla with runners first and second. Big lollipop curveball for a strike. 69 miles an hour. Uggla has hit a couple homers in this series. And Bush misses in. It's 1-1. His Marlins average up to 219 with his 11 homers. And it's always been a productive year, even though he's been at times hitting under 200. He's driven in 39 runs.
He has 17 RBI since May 20th.
If you were not with us for the first inning, Dave Bush took a line drive off his pitching elbow and came to the plate with what looked like some sort of a compress or brace or a wrap around that elbow. And so when he came out to pitch, he put the sleeves on. It looks like he's still pitching with that apparatus on his elbow.
Hey, I give Dave Bush a lot of credit for staying in this game for a couple of reasons. There he is without the sleeves. There's that shot hit by Hanley off that elbow. A lot of pitchers come out of the game and don't even stay in after that. He has stayed in, number one, because he's tough. Number two, he knows his team needs him to stay in because of the state of their bullpen as well.
Uggla might get something to hit here. 3-1. Caught the corner. That's consistent with what Damian Beal has called all night.
See, all the way out in center field, Mike Cameron saying, yeah, that's inside, outside. That's where those pitches have been called. Pretty good pitch. May have come back just at the last minute. Cameron's been called out twice on good pitches on the inner part of the plate.
Remember, he started Uggla out with 2 breaking balls. Came in with a fastball, and Uggla hits it to center field. Cantu tagging. Cameron makes the catch. Jorge's on his way to third. And so Uggla moves the runner up. Hermida still at first. And John Baker coming up. So Tommy went Paul Molitor on the Affleck question.
Affleck!
How about a Cecil Cooper?
It's a good guess, too.
Probably a modern-day Brewer.
Affleck!
Cecil Cooper has his Astros playing a lot better. How about
Jeff Cirillo?
Boy, an infielder, third baseman.
And there's our guesses. Yours?
Yeah, we just missed.
I'm out of the showcase round, but I think you're eligible. Baker now. So Bake's job here is to hit a ball in the air and keep it off the ground.
This is where you get that good one-on-one matchup. You just mentioned Bake's job. Bush's job is to try to get him to roll over, hit a ground ball, maybe get a double play.
Well, if Baker did what he did back in the second, the Marlins will be happy. He hit a fly ball to left field. Well, Cantu does not have the best of speed at third, so the fly ball needs to be at least medium depth. One and one. Brewers scoring first in this one. A run in the top of the fourth. A ball that got by Jeremy Hermida. A line drive off the bat of Prince Fielder. Two and one.
Dave Bush has been a consistent pitcher. He had back-to-back 12-win seasons in 06 and 07. You mentioned his time at Wake Forest. He was a closer at Wake Forest.
Bake going after a pitch up in his eyes, and it's 2-2. Trying to make it to 4 out of 8. Cantu, he doubled. Hermida had an infield single. Cantu moved up on the Uggla fly ball out.
And you can't take a called third strike in this situation. You've got to be ready.
Bake drives into center field, a base hit.
Just like that.
And it's all tied up. So John Baker with a base hit before the ball game. During batting practice, Jim Presley was mic'd up. Here's his conversation with John Baker.
Listen, when you get your foot down, though, you went like this, and then when you swung the balls away, you went like that a little bit instead of going, A couple of them.
Yeah, I think on that last swing he went,
Cody Ross now. Pumps that one into left center. Braun has room. Makes the catch. And so there's 2 outs. Let's see if, in fact, Jim Presley was right on that Baker swing.
Hey, I could hear him. He went, just like that. Line drive, got a good fastball, and attacked it.
That's good stuff. So JJ now finds himself at the plate with a couple runners aboard. He was up with runners second and third. Bounced out to end the second inning. JJ to center field. That's hit well. Back goes Cameron to the track. Looking up. That ball's gone! JJ! Did he ever?
JJ!
3-run shot.
Help yourself, JJ!
First career home run.
How about that? His first career long ball, and he went to dead center. Oh. Got a fastball. Wasn't sure. Cameron, a 3-time Gold Glove winner, he couldn't get to it.
Well, the fans want a curtain call from JJ. Coghlan up, and he takes outside. They're still on their feet. Here he comes.
That's tough for JJ. That's so out of character for him, but that was nice to see.
Yeah. Wow. Ball in the dirt. And Coghlan with the count at 2-1. Well, he's a big man, and he got into it. And that's where the big boys go, out to center field in this ballpark. Coghlan had a base hit in the third. Even Amezaga's impressed.
Oh, he's totally impressed.
Though no imitation yet.
He hasn't quite gotten JJ's swing down.
He's seen a lot more of Uggla's swings. Inside corner, Coghlan goes down. Inning is over, but the Marlins play some little ball with the Baker hit, and then some big ball. Really big ball. First career homer is a 3-run shot for JJ.
Florida Marlins Baseball está disponible en español vía SAP y es presentado por KFC.
Bill Hall pulls a ground ball to third. And in English and Spanish, he's out. Hi guys, how are you?
Ahí Bonifacio se echó hacia atrás, hizo el tiro al inicial un poco alto, pero se pudo tirar Cantu.
Gentlemen,
Rich,
how are you?
Richie, how are you?
All right, hey, just seeing Josh Johnson hit that home run, Cookie, who do you remember as a, or maybe even a teammate, a very good hitting pitcher?
Well, there's a lot of them, but I think Johnson has 5 tools. You know, he has a good fastball, a curveball, a changeup.
There you go.
He throws strikes, and you see he has power. So, what better example than that one? He's doing a terrific job.
Amazing. Bueno, la recta para el primer strike, 0-1 la cuenta.
Guys, we're going to listen to Raul, your call after the pitch here, just to make sure it went out of the park in Spanish as well. Fastball's up and in. Everybody listen in. Here we go.
Wow. Qué clase de bombazo.
A la calle.
Wow. Jonrón de Grandes Ligas.
Sí, señor. Y Josh Johnson, él mismo ayudándose.
Yeah, I heard Cookie drop in a para calle. See, he knew that right away. He knew
you
that was out.
guys, you guys are learning quick.
That's it.
The Grande Liga, big league home run.
That's
huh?
right.
Nice. All right.
That wasn't a fluke.
No, you're right. That was legit. Have a good show, guys.
You too, fellas.
All right, guys.
Mike Rivera gets hit on the hand. And he'll take his base.
Well, the backup catcher making his 9th start. He wants to stay in there. This fastball rides in, just couldn't quite get his hands out of the way. And he's going to be attended to.
He's been problematic for Josh Johnson, who walked him in the 3rd and has hit him here in the 5th.
He had a base hit off JJ in Milwaukee last year. He homered off Josh.
You know, normally a starter goes to the mound and thinks to himself, you know, my teammates just gave me the lead. I can't give that back up. When Josh goes to the mound, it's like, I just gave myself the lead.
Hey, that's the beauty of the National League. You can help yourself as a pitcher.
He certainly doesn't want to give it up if he just gave himself the lead.
We used to hear this saying years ago that a pitcher, if he could hit, if he could field his position, if he could bunt, he might help himself win a game or two during the course of the year.
Well, I think if you look at the Maddox, the Smoltz, the Glavine, those guys in the course of their career, it's a foul ball. We've seen that trio enough to know that they've done the little things, especially Maddox with the glove.
Oh, they can all bunt.
Smoltz with the bat.
Yeah.
They've all seemed to do something in the course of a game that other pitchers, mortal pitchers, were unable to do. Where do you think Tom Glavine is going to end up?
Well, I think he's going to end up somewhere. I don't think he's through. If he still feels he can pitch, there's a need out there. He'll end up somewhere.
Bush into right center. Cody dives. Hey! He got it! Second night in a row, a highlight film catch by Cody Ross.
Boy, he makes good decisions out there. So much of it is talent and being able to get that good jump, but also making a good decision. Earlier in the game, he laid back on a ball. This time he dives and comes up with it and robs Bush. What a play.
Here is Craig Counsell, who is lined out and flied out. Craig Counsell. Takes a ball and it's 2-0. Counsell, of course, involved in a big way in that rally in extra innings in Game 7 of the '97 World Championship. The Marlins beating the Indians. Counsell scoring on the Renteria hit. Uggla flips on over to first. Johnson works an uneventful 5th. Bottom of the 5th. rewind. This was the 5th yesterday. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. A much calmer, cooler, collected 5th inning tonight.
Well, the top half last night took 25 minutes. The bottom half took 26. 51 minutes total for the 5th inning last night.
Glad you've settled in with us tonight. Dave Bush brings out a big curveball for a strike. It's 0-1 to Bonifacio. Hanley Ramirez and Jorge Cantu will follow against Bush, who many thought, and I think our first reaction was, he wasn't going to make it out of the first inning after getting hit by the line drive by Hanley Ramirez just above his right elbow. But he has stayed in the game and pitched well until the 4th. Marlins got to him with 4 hits. The big one, a 3-run homer by the pitcher, Josh Johnson.
I got a little mini trivia Aflac question for you.
Little duck.
A little trivia, yeah. Who was the last Marlins pitcher and when to homer?
Well, I remember Ricky Nolasco back in 06 against the Cubs, but I would have to go Shea Stadium, Dontrelle Willis on you. There's a roller to counsel.
Well, you're right around it. Dontrelle Willis against Atlanta, August 29, 2007.
$250,000 Mustang Money tickets now on sale. Register your non-winning tickets now through June 11th for a second chance to win great prizes that include a 2010 Ford Mustang V6 convertible, an Ultimate Florida baseball weekend getaway, or $100 gas cards.
Well, Hanley Ramirez, when he got that base hit in the first inning, extended his hitting streak to 6 games, but he also extended it to 13 games against Milwaukee.
And when they talk about Milwaukee's finest, you have to include Hanley on that list.
Yeah, Hanley hitting over 420 in his career against the Brewers. Got under that first pitch fastball, and Bush has gotten a couple quick outs.
They've started that second game in Washington, and Matt Cain is starting for the Giants. So unless the Giants bring back Cain or Johnson on short days rest, the Marlins should miss those 2 starters. Still, they'll get 3 pretty good ones. Barry Zito, who has not had much support this year. Jonathan Sanchez, a hard-throwing lefty. He'll be matched up with Andrew Miller. That's a perfect matchup, Miller and Sanchez on Saturday. Cantu pops it, and then Lincecum will go Sunday night. And at this point, the Marlins will counter with Anibal Sanchez on the Sunday night, and Sean West is penciled in for Monday night.
Yeah, Barry Zito has gone 8 straight starts, 6 or more innings. He's given up fewer hits than innings pitched, and his ERA is just a little over 4. But he's 1-6.
Cantu drops the barrel on that one and sends it out to Braun. Dave Bush, a 7-pitch inning. Much more calm than last night's 5th. South Florida tonight. 4-1. Marlins on top of the Brewers in the 6th. Josh Johnson opens up with a strike to J.J. Hardy. Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder on their way to the plates. Johnson's been dealing strikes all night. Cantu steps on the bag. We check in with Craig Minervini.
Thank you very much, Rich. And, you know, one of the things the Marlins outfielders do and the infielders too, they have little maintenance drills they do before the game. Yesterday, John Baker was working on his throws. I'll show you what they were doing in the outfield today. Just the left fielders. Alejandro Diazo is working out in left field. He may get some time out there. So outfield coach Bo Porter was just hitting balls off the wall there. Also with Chris Coghlan, not only working on their throws, but even the little nooks and crannies in that wall there. For example, what Bo said is if it hits the screen or where the numbers are in the American League wall, pretty much dies. But if it hits, maybe we can get after the shot one of those bars that divide the teams and the lines up and down on that American League board. You see those bars? I mean, if it hits those, forget it. You don't know where they're going to go. And if it hits the padding, it usually goes to the right, depending on the angle of the ball, whether it's coming, you know, down to the left or the right. But anyway, he just hits balls out left and right. He'll hit 30, 40 of them, and they get used to the angles and where it's going to hit. A little more comfortable playing out in left field. Some tools before the game, they hope, will pay off sometime during the game. Guys?
Ryan Braun with one out.
Good stuff. I can picture Bo Porter. He'll be doing that at Fenway Park to get the outfielders used to playing balls off the monster. Now, that's a little different because it's an even wall. There aren't the little fences and screens and different angles. So you play it off the monster, it's going to come back to you in a pretty normal fashion. Different surroundings in Toronto. See, interleague play creates a lot of that because you have to get used to ballparks you've never been to. There's that fence, and when it hits there, you're not sure what it's going to do. A lot of times it just dies.
This is our 5th year together, and twice in this ballpark we've seen a ball actually hit the clock, the arms of the clock up there in left field. Any ball off the clock is live.
It's in play.
In fact, if it hits the arm of the clock there and bounces over the fence, it's a double. Anything that hits below the top of a fence and bounces out is not a home run. Prince Fielder takes inside.
I think there's a fine line to quirkiness of ballparks. I think the Marlins' new ballpark will have some, which is good.
You don't want to get over quirked, right?
Yeah, you can get a little over quirky.
Or Jamie quirk.
City Field, we've talked about it, has 7 different heights of the fence as it goes around.
That's a little too quirky.
That could be a little too quirky, yeah. Leading home run hitter, by the way, of players with the last name that start with Q, Jamie Quirk. I think Omar Quintanilla is catching him.
That's right. Unfortunately, Chad Qualls doesn't have the opportunity to hit many.
It's always an interesting query.
Ryan Braun's at first. He's got 3 stolen bases. The Brewers are not a mobile team. Especially now that Ricky Weeks is no longer with them. Weeks injured his wrist and is out for the season. They're downright ponderous with 13 stolen bases, and they've been caught 11 times.
Yeah, Weeks added a little different dimension at the top of the order.
So it's station to station. Line drive over the head of Bonifacio. And the Brewers, with 1 out, have a couple runners aboard. Braun at fielder reach. And now it's Mike Cameron against Josh Johnson. twice Cameron has been caught looking. Home Depot doing more with defense. This was the shift, and this was the result.
Well, the shift is in good place, but Fielder just launches it over the head of Bonifacio. And still a pretty good pitch by Josh Johnson. He got in on him, jammed him a little bit.
Both times Cameron was unhappy with the called third strike, and both times it was a fastball about waist high on the inside part. It's been a big strike zone all night. Damian Beal has worked a solid game behind the plate.
Cameron's had a pretty good year against the Marlins this year. Heard an interesting interview with him today, talking about what, as an older player, and Mike Cameron certainly is in that category. He's 36. What he's done differently over the years, and most of it has to do with preparation and some change in mechanics, but most of it's just preparing for the game and how he gets himself ready.
Johnson's gone right in there after that inside corner on the first two pitches. Pitches. He would love a ground ball. Ooh. Pretty good pitch. It's 3-1.
He went with the slider. Possibly a little down.
Fastball.
Okay, see if he goes with that fastball on the inner part of the plate now. If you're Mike Cameron, and he's been around, and he's a smart hitter, you would think even with two strikes, he would just cheat a little bit for that pitch. And if he gets a slider, just tip his cap to JJ.
Johnson didn't like the sequence of signs. Let's see what he gets. Fastball, threw it by him.
He didn't even have to go in inner part of the plate. He just reared back and threw the fastball by him.
97 miles an hour.
5 strikeouts for Josh Johnson. And again, that was not his velocity in that game in Milwaukee. And that was the early tip-off in his 4 innings of work. But here's just some old heat right there. Nothing fancy about that. Talked about the 5 strikeouts. You get an idea how he's been freezing hitters. Braun on an inside heater. Cameron inside heater. Bill Hall inside heater. Cameron again inside. This time a swinging strike, but again the fastball.
Probably just getting started.
1-0 to Corey Hart. Has flied out twice. It's a big spot in this ball game. The tying runs at the plate. Marlins have a 4-1 lead. Johnson out of Jenks, Oklahoma. Tommy John surgery. He may be the fastest to come back as a starting pitcher from Tommy John surgery. A little over 11 months.
Had that terrific 06 rookie season for him. Josh, 12-7. Started 24 games. Remember, started the year in the bullpen.
Good slider, 2-2.
He's got both of those going for him tonight, the slider and the fastball, but more importantly with the fastball, he's been able to put it where he wants.
Braun and Fielder at first and second. And down goes Hart. Josh Johnson strikes out Cameron, strikes out Hart, and will go to the bottom of the sixth with a 4-1 lead. Cody Ross is the subject of our freeze cam. That's pretty. Look at that. Eyes on the prize. The Frost Brewed Coors Light freeze cam. And that is why Cody Ross is a plus outfielder. Great instincts. A good finisher, good closer.
The way he closed his glove up after he made contact and caught the ball.
Now Bush misses inside to Hermida, with Uggla and Baker also due up in the sixth inning. Marlins trying to make a statement in this ball game. If they can win it, they will have taken 3 of 4 from the first place team in the National League Central. As they try to climb out of the deep hole they dug themselves in the month of May. This would be a nice start to that. They started really to do it by taking 2 of 3 from the Phillies on that last road trip. Mets got them for 2 of 3. A win tonight, the Marlins will have put together a run of 7 of 11 with wins.
I think another thing to try to make a statement that they could play better at home. They came home with a 9-14 record, 11-15 at home now, and they would like to get back to and then over 500 playing here at home, and that's the way it should be. And you stay at 500 on the road, you're going to be competitive.
Jeremy has delivered a single and has struck out. The Cubs are in Atlanta, and that game is delayed. That's a Carlos Zambrano start. He must have. Has he served his suspension, or did he appeal his suspension?
He served it. I saw where A.J. Burnett was slapped with a six-day suspension, which is kind of the norm now for starting pitchers, because if it's 6 days, they'll miss a start.
Bush misses up. So Hermida's aboard, and Uggla's on his way up. You can pick up a CBS 4 for $54 pack on Friday nights. That would be tomorrow. With the CBS 4 for $54 pack, you get 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas, 2 Marlin game programs. And it starts at just $54. Visit the Stadium box office, the Marlins in Miami store, or marlins.com. Uggla takes a breaking ball high. And it's 1-0. Crowd reacting. Our Toyota trend. Starting pitchers, we told you that the Brewers are in one of those ruts that the Marlins were in when the Fish were in Milwaukee. Unable to get deep into the ball game and thus having to go to the pen early.
That's why Dave Bush is doing a great job for Ken Maka. Trying to take this game as deep as he can after taking that line shot off his elbow. A lot more slow curveballs this inning. He's kind of altered from his original pattern.
I would expect it to be a lot more painful for Bush to throw the next couple of days than it is right now. And he may be tiring, or that arm may be bothering him, because he doesn't look all together like the Dave Bush we've seen in the first 5 innings.
Yeah, I would suspect on their flight to Atlanta, that thing will start to get a little swollen.
$11,623 in the ballpark tonight. Brewers sensing some of the same things that I think we are, and Mitch Stetter gets up.
You know, he's been able to keep that pitch count down because he's had a couple of 7-pitch innings.
Full count. See if the Marlins gamble here, maybe send Hermida. He's running. Uggla hits a tapper down the line.
Boy, you got a great jump, too. You can gamble when you have a little extra change in your pocket, like a 3-run lead. Yeah, Jeremy got a nice jump. Look at this. Another slow curveball from Bush to Dan Uggla.
Hermida has stolen 4 bases this year. So when he picks his spots, he can be effective. He's running. Strike 3. Out at second. It's a double play.
Well, I tell you what, that was just a perfect throw by Mike Rivera because, again, I thought Jeremy got a decent jump.
Uggla must have been looking breaking ball. He doesn't let too many of these get by him.
Fastball by him, and there's the perfect throw by Rivera. So a nice play by the Brewers catcher. And a good pitch from Bush to freeze Dan Uggla.
It's one of those nights, and it's a stat that you track to gauge the effectiveness of an infield, especially middle infielders. Double plays. You look at the column and see how many double plays a team has turned. Well, the Brewers have a couple of double plays tonight, and none of it, except that last tag, involves a middle infielder.
Yeah, not the real conventional type.
No, remember, Hanley hit the the fly ball to center when Coghlan forgot how many outs there were, and he was doubled off of first, and then a strike him out, throw him out, double play. And that's allowed Bush to hang in here tonight as well. Baker stays on the curveball. Counsell pivots, makes a nice play, and the Marlins are done in the 6th. On to the 7th. JJ in control, 4-1. Top of the Brewers in the 7th in South Florida in the final game of a 4-game series in which the Marlins have won 2 of the 3. They won the first 2. The Brewers won last night. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Craig Minervini. AJ Speaks is our producer tonight, filling in for the esteemed John Sulcer. Household name Jim Hawley by his side. Our director tonight, Ken Lee, our graphics coordinator. Bill Hall bounces it on a hop to Bonifacio.
Boy, that helps. First pitch, 1 out here in the 7th. And the struggles of Bill Hall continue.
Now, Tommy, we've had many questions, especially on Email Tuesdays, about the cues out there. Again, just to review, quick outs. It's a pitcher's and a pitching coach's best friend. 3 pitches or less, if you get an out, you get a cue, and so those are the cues that Johnson has accumulated.
How about that? 9 quick outs.
Rivera was hit by a pitch in the 5th and walked in the 3rd. Tough pitch out of the outside corner. That's almost impossible if you're Mike Rivera to hit that. Goes after a fastball, swings through it. 7 punch outs for Josh Johnson. Time now for our Cabot Wood Stain legendary performance. Back in 2004, Julio Franco, who was at that point just 45, becomes the oldest player to hit a grand slam as he led Atlanta over Philadelphia. As I remember, he would hit a grand slam either in 06 or 07 here against the Marlins to make that record even more impressive. When
he padded the record a little bit.
He was 47 or 48.
I thought I saw...
He's coaching somewhere.
Yeah, in the Mets media guy.
Yeah.
That he's in their minor league system, and well, he should. I mean, the knowledge that Julio Franco has of this game should be transferred on to young players.
Matt Gamble is a young player, and he's up right now. And he fouls it back.
I mean, they should just let Julio Franco take a few bus trips with young players just to sit and talk about baseball.
That's the job we discussed last year that Luis Gonzalez needs when he finally decides that his playing days are over. Swing and a miss. Josh Johnson has been outstanding tonight. 8 strikeouts and in control through 7. 4-1 Fish. Start tonight and after Game 1 of the Magic and the Lakers. Sun Sports will have live post-game coverage beginning immediately following the Magic and Lakers. Here tonight, Josh Johnson has been Magic with a 4-1 lead. Johnson not only has punched out 8, he's hit a 3-run homer, so he literally is the difference in this ball game. And Dave Bush is done. Mitch Stetter is in.
And JJ getting into the on-deck circle and nobody warming up. He's going to go out there and pitch the 8th inning as well. He'll have a challenge against this left-hander. Mitch Stetter throws from down under, gives you that sidearm look. It'll be a tough AB for the home run hitting Josh Johnson.
Cody's doubled. A strike. I know it's not an easy place to hit, especially in the National League, the 8 spot. But having a guy like Cody Ross hit 8th is a nice luxury to have, because oftentimes the number 8 hitter will be a light hitting catcher or a shortstop who is known for his glove. But Cody Ross is a guy that'll hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah, for the times that he'll get pitched around, there are many times that he'll see pitches too. Look at that, Rivera started to throw it around the infield. He thought that breaking ball was strike 3.
Todd Coffey, who has one of the better entrance routines in baseball. The big man comes charging out of the bullpen at a full sprint. Ross figuring he better swing if it's close. Sends it out to right field. And Hart makes the catch. All right. The Marlins had just tied it in the 4th, and we're hoping for maybe another run with a couple on, and this happened.
And no cheapie there. Straight away center field. And the curtain call.
And so here's the uncomfortable at bat that you.
Yeah, this isn't going to be comfortable. A little bail right there on that fastball. And rightfully so.
Johnson's thrown 97 pitches. He struck out 8. Bush, and really a gutty effort by the Brewers right-hander. His manager needing a starter to get deep in the game. Bush in the first inning hit on the elbow by Hanley Ramirez on a line drive. Huge welt. Obviously was in great pain, stayed in the game, and ends up going 6 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. So JJ goes down, and up comes Coghlan. Nope, excuse me. Brett Carroll pops into the on-deck circle and is on his way to the plate.
Well, you accomplish a couple of things here. You get Brett Carroll in at bat against a left-hander. Freddie was going to put him in to play defense anyway, so now he'll go out and play left field.
Wow. Brett Carroll almost hit the home plate umpire, Damian Beal, on that backswing. You see Carroll, as Carroll was taking his practice swing, Beal was walking towards the Brewers dugout to let Ken Maka know about the switch. And now Maka's going to come out and make the change. And Carroll took a warm-up swing and almost clipped Beal. Maka's going to the bullpen. So it's Todd Coffey, our Maroon, called to the bullpen. Will face Todd Coffey, who came rambling in from the bullpen. And just before that, we talked about Carroll coming up. Watch this.
Wow. Damian Beal getting a little close to that practice swing of Brett Carroll. No harm, no foul.
So Carroll to face Coffey. Who's faster, Todd Coffey or Ronnie Paulino on that run from the bullpen?
I think Ronnie Paulino would take him.
It'd be fun to watch. It would be like 2 mobile homes drag racing.
And we say that in love with Ronnie Paulino.
Yeah.
And with Todd Coffey.
Carroll takes a breaking ball for a strike. One of the heroes of last night's game for the Brewers was Seth McClung, who came out of the bullpen and went 3 1/3, gave up just 1 run. Very similar to another game in this series. You go back to game 2 of the series. The hero was Burke Badenhop. He came out of the bullpen for 5 scoreless innings.
Bullpens in this series have been a big factor.
Carroll fouls that one off. There is
And I think the more and more, there's a Burke Badenhop with a tremendous job. He's had 2 good outings his last 2 times. The start in Philadelphia and the 5 relief innings the other night. But I think the more and more you see, once the starters go deeper into games, you see the success the bullpen has.
1-2 pitch, he goes around. And Brett Carroll finishes the 7th. It's on to the 8th. Josh Johnson back up on the mound. Marlins on top of the Brewers. In the 8th, Josh Johnson has punched out 8 Milwaukee Brewers, and his 3-run homer is the difference in the game. Top of the order, Craig Counsell takes strike 1. Brett Carroll's out in right. Jeremy Hermida swings over to left. Remember, Carroll came in for Coghlan, who leaves the game. That would be strike 2.
Boy, Josh Johnson continues to pour strikes in, sliders and fastballs, both sides of the plate.
That one bounced up there.
Actually, 4 of his 8 strikeouts have come in the last 2 innings.
Nunez and Meyer. Counsell can still turn on a fastball. Giants and Nationals are well into their 2nd game of the night, tied 1-1 in the 4th. Randy Johnson earlier tonight won his 300th game. Wanted to.
You know, for Josh Johnson, the 8 strikeouts ties his season high. Struck out 8 Nationals back on April 7th. And JJ's career high is 9.
Uggla wanders over.
Here we go!
And an out to start the 8th. Here comes J.J. Hardy with Ryan Braun right behind him.
So you got J.J. against J.J. So he's just 1 away from his career high in strikeouts. 9.
Hardy takes outside. I saw where Big Poppy is headed to the eye doctor to have his eyes checked. Marlins in Boston in about a week and a half.
And Big Papi still with just 1 home run, hitting under 200.
Drive out to left center. Ross is over there. First stop is Toronto on that trip. 3 at Rogers Center, but it'll always be Sky Dome to you and me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And
it'll be hard to call it the Rogers Center.
Then down to Fenway. So 106 pitches.
No problem at the Fens, though. We can deal with Fenway. And we may see John Smoltz in that series.
That would be something. Braun jumps all over that pitch, and that will ring off the National League scoreboard. Ross plays it well. Ryan Braun, I know he hits home runs, but he hits some of the hardest line drives all over the ballpark. You'll see.
He's one of those guys that's pretty fun to watch hit. He has such quickness in that bat. Displayed certainly by the numbers he's put up early in his career. Rookie of the Year in 07. He was an All-Star last year.
And so Johnson is on his way out with 2 outs in the 8th. Myers coming in to face the lefty. Here's Armaruni, called to the bullpen. In the 8th, and Josh Johnson gave up the double to Ryan Braun. And the night for Josh Johnson, an outstanding one.
Yeah, he's done a little bit of everything. We've talked about the way he spotted his fastball, both sides of the plate, a lot of called strikes early on. 8 strikeouts in 7 2/3 innings for JJ, and now he turns it over to Dan Meyer to work to the lefty Prince Fielder.
Good sharp breaking ball for a strike. It's 0-1. Meyer really has flourished in this role. The guy that came up was a first-round pick of the Atlanta Braves. As a starter, he never quite caught on in the Oakland organization as a consistent starter at the big league level. Kind of reinvented himself here in Florida.
He's got good makeup, I think, too, for down there in the bullpen. Good attitude. Likes the challenge of facing these left-handers, but also has the repertoire to get right-handers out.
Drive to center. That's hit deep. Ross goes back to the track. The wall gone. Prince Fielder greets Dan Meyer with a long home run. And suddenly, just like that, it's a one-run game.
Wow. Prince Fielder tonight has a triple, a single, and now a home run. One of those runs tagged onto the line of JJ. For Fielder, his 13th home run of the year. He now has 51 RBIs. Let's see where this fastball was. Out over the plate and about belt high. Good extension. Boy, he generates some power.
Yes, he does. And so Meyer was in to face the lefty. He faced the lefty who left. And so Meyer leaves as well. Nunez comes in. Here's another Marooney called to the bullpen. Leo Nunez gets a strike on Mike Cameron with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. It's 1-1, 2 outs. This game now a tight one, a one-run game on the two-run homer by Prince Fielder.
Fielder with 4 home runs against the Marlins this year.
Nunez comes in throwing hard. Let's see if the end of the 8th belongs to Nunez. Cameron's night has included 3 strikeouts. Twice looking, once swinging. He's well represented in Johnson's 8 punch-outs.
Well, if you go back to last night, Cameron struck out his last time up. He's fanned his last 4 times.
Strikeouts for Cameron. And the end of the 8th belongs to Leo Nunez. hold leaders, just for men. Jeremy Affeldt from San Francisco. Good chance we'll see him this weekend, just as middle relievers keep their team in the game. You too can stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. This game had a very different feel until that man got a hold of a Dan Meyer fastball and hit it out.
Well, let's see if the Marlins can get a little more insurance here in the 8th inning. They're going to have to do it against Todd Coffey. Good part of the lineup, though, coming up.
Matt Lindstrom getting loose.
I'll be perfectly honest with you, seeing Lindstrom down there getting loose. And it's not just Freddie Gonzalez. I'm not second-guessing Freddie. Every manager in baseball does it. But with Nunez coming in, only having to work to one hitter, I would love to see him go out and pitch the 9th inning. Now, if you have Trevor Hoffman down there in the bullpen, it's a different story. But that's the way the game's played nowadays. That's just the way it is.
One ball, one strike. The Marlins trying to give Lindstrom a little cushion here. Coffey makes it 2-1.
Hanley with one hit tonight. Thinking about more.
He's used to having 3 hits in a game. He had 3 consecutive 3-hit games. He and David Wright are the only 2 players in baseball to do that this year.
Yeah, just a mere 1 for 4 last night.
Pedestrian. Counsell throws out Bonifacio, who's 0 for 4.
The always sure-handed Craig Counsell. Craig Counsell this year for Ken Maka has started 9 games at second, 8 games in short, and 8 games at third. That's how versatile he's been.
It's a guy who grew up in Milwaukee. His father worked in the front office, and so he grew up around the Brewers.
Used to hang out with Robin Yount.
Henley goes after a low fastball. They're still delayed in Atlanta. Cubs.
Nate McLouth has his uniform all ready to go. I saw where they're going to bat him 3rd in the order.
Cubs and Braves, yeah. In the hole. And Hanley's out.
Nicely done by J.J. Hardy and also by Prince Fielder at first. Hardy shows off a strong throw. And then watch how Fielder, a little bit of a cheat, just kind of comes off as he gets the throw.
You never did that in your day.
Perfectly legal. As long as you don't get caught doing it.
So what does that accomplish if you're the first baseman? By leaving the bag like that,
it makes a close play.
A split second before the ball hits your glove, it makes it appear like the ball got there sooner?
Yeah, because the umpire's listening for the ball to hit the glove.
And watching the bases.
Yeah, so he's not able to get both of those things at the same time.
And so, as first baseman, and you're in that guild, the first baseman union.
I am, yeah. I quit paying dues a long time ago.
As first baseman, what you're trying to do is deceive the umpire to think that you've already caught it because you're pulling off the bag.
Coming off the bag, yeah.
Never thought first basemen were so slick. Cantu goes down. That was quick. Let's hope that Lindstrom is good and loose, because it's go time. It's the 9th inning. The Marlins up a run, and they go to their closer. Matt Lindstrom takes over. And in the 9th, Lindstrom gets Corey Hart. Bill Hall is scheduled, but it'll probably be Jody Garrett. And then we'll see what the Brewers do with the catcher spot as well. First things first, Lindstrom has to get Hart. A guy that has some power. He's got 6 home runs this year.
A couple of left-handed bats. Frank Catalanato also on that bench for Ken Maka.
Lindstrom goes 2-0. Now, Lindstrom has not worked since Monday. That was the first game of the series. He came in and pitched the 9th to get his 10th save. Sharp ground ball. Hanley a dive. Safe at first. We told you that Hart is the fastest Brewer, and he showed it there.
And he's also a guy who can steal some bases. Knocked down by Hanley, but just the speed of Corey Hart, he outruns this. Knocks it down, is able to pick it up right there. But Corey Hart just beat it out.
So here is Garrett, the Stanford product. Stanford will be well represented in the Major League Draft here in a few days. They always are. Lindstrom misses down low, and it's 1-0. Now Mike Rivera is on deck. Broken bat might be 2. Got 1 there. Got 2 there.
Oh, thing of beauty. 4-6-3.
Big pitch and 2 big outs.
Boy, and it took away that opportunity for Corey Hart, who last year had 23 steals, the year before had 23 steals. Took away that opportunity for him to maybe think about a stolen base. The flip, the throw, and an easy 4-6-3.
And it is Rivera that will climb in there. Snaps off a slider. Rivera's actually had a pretty good year with the bat. He's hitting .313. Couple of sliders. It's not often that you see Matt Lindstrom double up on his slider.
That's certainly not what Rivera was expecting. He's got himself geared up for a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Oh, and 2, crowd on their feet. One ball, 2 strikes. Marlins looking for win number 26. Trying to take this series. Trying to take 3 of 4 from the first place Brewers. 1-2 coming. Well, he got his strikes with sliders, and then he tried to throw it through John Baker's glove on the last 2, and he's missed.
This is the part of the transition of Matt Lindstrom into a closer that he has to work on channeling. That's what he said.
99 miles an hour.
Let me channel a 99-mile-an-hour heater.
And the Marlins win the ball game.